Annabelle isn't the only doll gripped by a demonic presence that will haunt your dreams. There are others out there, just as creepy, just as menacing, and all too real. These following three are sure to give you some fresh nightmares. Robert the doll is a tatty and unsightly looking doll that resembles a small sailor boy. You can just make out his painted facial features on his shabby and faded, pockmarked face. He clutches onto a small, ragged stuffed dog as he blankly stares off into the distance. Robert was given to a young boy, also called Robert, in 1906 by an unhappy servant of the family who was later discovered practicing black magic through voodoo rituals. The boy would eventually become known as Eugene, as the doll increasingly assumed his name of Robert. Throughout his childhood, Eugene would play with Robert the doll, often talking to him and miming back Robert's voice. He was often heard having long arguments with the doll, and afterwards his parents would find them quietly glaring at each other across the room. Later on, they would come to reconsider whether he was miming at all. Often, as children will, Eugene got into trouble. He would plead with his parents, "It wasn't me, it was Robert." But unfortunately, this argument would mostly fall on deaf and unbelieving ears. It started with neighbours claiming to have seen the doll moving from window to window. Maybe innocent games of a happy child, but this would also happen when the family was out. This eerie spectacle wasn't strictly for the neighbours either. The family would catch glimpses out the corner of their eye, around corners, in hallways. Always seemed to be peeping cautiously. They thought it was Robert, in the shadows. After Jean's death, the doll's presence grew, walking in footsteps in the night in the room where he was encased in a glass box. A workman came to the house one day to fix leaking pipes, and as he was working he heard giggling behind him. He turned quickly and found Robert was stationary, but now a large distance across the room from where he was originally placed. News of this got out and many people started visiting Robert, one remarking how intelligence seemed to lie behind his faded black eyes. Other people mocked Robert and his former friend Eugene, and in an air of defiance, a distinct presence of disdain and anger would be felt in the room. Letters still arrive every day for Robert, asking for forgiveness for thoughts and words said against him, and Robert still sits in his display cabinet today, where you can visit him if you really want to. Mandy the doll used to belong to a little girl in 1910. They were the best of friends. That was, until the little girl and Mandy were trapped in a basement, and unfortunately, she passed. Mandy stayed behind though, and one day she was found in piles of junk by a German family many years later amongst the dust and the clutter. She had grimy, red-stained tears below her eyes. These were washed away though, and she was brought up into their house. Believing her to be valuable, they kept her, but not for long. Quite suddenly, every night, they could hear faint crying from the basement, starting and stopping, but always distant, and seeping up through their floorboards. They were obviously terrified, and gave the doll to a local museum, which is still her home today. But something followed Mandy. Footsteps at first, light and sporadic, falling about her glass case at night. Then papers thrown around the room in a toddler's tantrum. Mandy didn't like other dolls. If they were with her in the same case, they would be found damaged or thrown out across the floor. One evening, a member of staff heard tapping in one of the museum's exhibits. When he went to investigate, he found only silence. But just as he was about to leave, he noticed Mandy, still in the glass case, but now closer to the front. Tiny hand pressed motionless against the glass. It was decided that she was lonely. So now, when she acts up, the workers are required to take her from her case and carry her with them to calm her restless spirit. But the question is, would you? The doll in this story is locked into a disturbing painting. It was called The Hands Resist Him and was painted in 1972 by Bill Stoneham. It depicts a little boy peering out of a nightmarish scene with a life-sized doll stood menacingly beside him with hollow eye sockets. And only as you look closer, you begin to notice multiple tiny doll's hands pressed up against the window behind him. As sinister as the painting looks, it's the reputation of its effects on people that are truly terrifying. The real-life model for the boy in the painting refused to be in the same room as it when it was finished, and numerous people have reported the feeling of being grabbed suddenly whilst viewing it, and having immense feelings of sickness and weakness. The tiny doll's hands pressed up against the window behind the boy sometimes change shape and direction, sometimes fading in and out of view. Why not take a look for yourself?